Somebody sent this interview over to me, and I'm not really usually big on interviews, but I went ahead and watched through this one. And y'all, I am telling you, I have never heard a more important interview that I think you guys really need to see. And this has a lot to do with. I know it's going to be kind of like, oh, I'm tooting my own horn, being like, oh, listen, this guy's following almost every one of my principles. He's literally hitting on practice. He's hitting on speed. He's hitting on size. He's hitting on recordings and playbacks. This was really cool. You guys have heard it from me before. I want you guys to hear it from another professional trader. This guy is one of the top, not just a regular trader, not just a getting it by trader, not just some scammer out there like ICT or any of these guys who just BS their way through stuff. This was awesome. So without further ado, I'm going to come in here. We're going to do this reaction video. Let's get started. All right, this trader's name is Lance, and this is not my interview. This is Be the Story. I will put a link down in the description for the entire thing here, but this is just so good, and I don't hold any copyright to any of this. I am literally just going to be doing a reaction video to this. I'm going to be inserting my own commentary as we go along here, showing you guys even how some of the things he's talking about applies with our system and things that we've talked about before, and we'll show some of those on our screens as well. Let's get to it. All right, take it away, Lance, being interviewed by Be the Trader on YouTube. Let's go.
That same summer, I bought the Market Wizards books by Dr. Jack Schwager, and like so many other traders that I've met since, that was game over for me. The second I read those books, where it's just all these interviews with top traders, you learn there's so many different ways to beat the market. You learn about people doing quant studies. You learn about people just emotionally beating the market, and all these different things. When there you are in school learning the efficient market hypothesis that you can't beat the market. And so it was this amazing thing where the more I learned about trading, all the ethos seemed to really, really speak to me. And the thought of financial freedom and the ability to test your wit and your psychology and your emotions against everyone else out there, it seemed like almost this intellectual battleground where there's a lot of different ways to win. And so then for me, I knew I wanted to do trading. Then for a lot of people, you might look at sales and trading at some of the big banks. You might look at prop trading. You might look at quant trading, all these different things. And so what I knew is I wasn't some Rain Man with math. I was good, but not a genius. I wasn't some programmer. And once you're not a programmer, all these things, it starts to cut out some of those roles. And even with the sales and trading side, I don't like getting dressed up. I don't like all the FaceTime stuff. I don't like a lot of the BS of the bureaucracy and all that. And that really left prop trading. And when I found out about that little niche, it was just like, wow, like this is exactly what I'm looking for. It was meritocratic. Like the better you do, the better you get to keep. And in the day trading world, there were only a handful of firms out there that were pretty reputable, and I ended up going to Trillium, which was one of the kind of longest standing, most reputable prop firms out there.
So you went straight there right out of college?
Yep. So right after I was lined up, and that was it.
That's insane, man. Because so what happened? Like you jump in, and was it immediately easy for you, or was it like, how did that process start for you?
Yep. So when I was doing my due diligence, or DD as the kids like to call it now, all I really cared about is what % of people make it, because you always got to be scared of like the bucket shops and the chop shops that are just churning and burning through people. And not just if you make it, but if you make it, just how well can you do, right? Does success mean you just end up making an investment banker's salary anyways? Does success mean you can do multiples of that? Does success mean you only make 70 grand? So I tried to get a real firm idea of that probability curve and what that would mean. And once I knew that there were people out there, I mean, the failure rate's high in the industry, right? Like even working at a top prop shop, I would guess maybe a third to a quarter of people, only those few succeed at all, let alone go on to greatness.
Yeah.
And so I knew the odds were stacked against me, but I knew if there's people winning, as I like to say, like, why can't that be me? Like, and what I was confident in is I just knew I would outwork everyone. And like, you would have to pry my dead body out of that door, because I wasn't going to give up, and I was going to just outwork every single person there, no questions asked.
All right, so far, I kind of let this go for a little while here, right at the beginning. I know it's a little bit slow here. It's normal stuff, a normal trader jumping into it. But I wanted to showcase that first because he really goes. He's going to show his prowess here in a little bit as he starts to really talk into it. But he's starting out where he started, just like you or anybody else getting in this industry, maybe checking out prop firms. You heard some of the stats right there on failure rates, and I've told you guys this before too. Even with AlgoBox, look, everyone is not going to succeed. It is going to be up to you. You've got to have that diehard mentality, go after it. I believe our success rate is higher than what he's saying. He's saying that only a third or so make it in these prop shops. We're going to talk about edge here later on. One of the other items that he hits on, as I've said before, like a lot of people think everything is all about psychology, and then your edge is secondary to that. I love that this guy agrees with me in so many areas. And of course, I know you're like, oh, that's why you're showing it to us, Vinny. Well, I think sometimes you guys need to hear it from somebody else. So let's carry on. Just hang with it. Trust me, it's gonna get good. Here we go.
And so I ended up, I think representative of that thought was there was a satellite office in Princeton where one of the best traders probably ever, and certainly for one of the best for the firm, had been trading because he had a couple kids and all that, and he was kind of done with the city life. And most people, they wanted the sex appeal of the big city. They wanted to live in Manhattan and have the social life. And for me, I didn't care one bit. It was the biggest no-brainer of my career to go work with one of the biggest, best traders out there. And the salary back then was $26K. So I took my $26K and all my student loan debt, and I moved to Princeton, New Jersey. And it was who knew it was going to be a huge struggle, but also one of the best, most rewarding paths that I could have ever happened upon.
What was when you say it was a huge struggle, because I know people are going to hear this and they're going to be like, well, for him it was easy, but then you say it was a huge struggle. So what was hard? Like, did it take you, how long did it take you to actually kind of see something that worked for you, even though you had someone like that helping you out? Like, was it?
So someone like that, they're referring to, I had kind of missed this when I first watched this. He's talking about he's going with a mentor, the top mentor. Again, you need to get the best that you have access to. And again, I say have access to because a lot of the absolute best you do not have access to them. So, you need to make sure that you are going with somebody that's got a track record, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. I don't know, somebody like Emini, or somebody who is proving it repetitively, who you want to go and mimic them. I believe that is a huge key to success, at least to speed up the process. Now, you don't have to. I mean, you can go out there and fight around on it and whatnot, but this guy became absolute top dog, and you are going to see all the awards that this guy has won. He's got the trophies all lined up in his office here. You're going to see all this, but he started out with a good mentor. These are great line of questions. Here it comes.
It's like easy right off the bat. Like, can you tell me a little bit about that beginning stages of learning from someone like that?
Yep. So what I'm always very public about is I struggled big time. Like, I didn't even think I was going to make it. My first year, I was negative every single month. And I was working my butt off, right? So you see, like, for the first time, most people that enter the field, they're probably someone that's, especially at a top firm, you've probably had success in all areas of your life. So it's very foreign to be going all in, full bore, and just, wait a second, like, why am I not cutting it? Wait, this is odd. This hasn't happened to me before. And I think a lot of people that have only had success in their life, like if you go to some Ivy League school and if you have some great upbringing and you've never failed, I think a lot of people enter the prop world or the trading world, and all of a sudden the market doesn't care, right? You're competing with the pros. There's no easy mode.
All right, so man, I think we need to pause right here for a moment. How many of you sound just like this? I can literally, I've got the name off the tip of my tongue, and I think he knows who. I've had conversations with somebody in our room just even recently where we've had this discussion, and the conversation wraps around, Vinny, I've never have failed at anything. I've always had success, and I've succeeded in all these other areas of my life. I want you to pay attention to this, okay? Yes, this is a common story. Yes, he understands. I understand. I've said this to you, but it takes something different to come here into the markets, into a different thing. But hold tight. There are keys to how to get there. Hang tight. Let's go.
And what happens is you get people that have never experienced failure. And I went on to train, dozens of people. And so I've seen this play out so many times where you get people that haven't ever met failure. And then when it hits them in the face, they don't know how to act. They don't know how to compose themselves. They don't know how to push through and persevere through adversity. And like I said, I think what separated me, at least one of my competitive advantages, was my grit. And so I wouldn't say that none of that stuff bothered me, because of course it's gonna be emotional to you and hard in the moment, but like I just knew like I am going to, every single day I'm gonna work my ass off. And I saw this guy, right?
Yeah.
This guy next to me, you would see him make, you know, my family's annual income in like a, you know, on like a good day, and you'd just be like, holy shit, like I don't care what it takes, like I am going to do everything I can to take advantage of this opportunity and leave nothing on the table.
So you're there learning from him, right? And we're gonna call, you know, can we give him a name?
I'll let him be anonymous, so we'll call him Sam.
Sam. So you're here with Sam, right? You're learning from Sam, and as you're learning from him, you're trading for that first year and losing every month, right? So help me understand, like, because a lot of people are going to be like, you know, you're learning from someone really good, you should be successful right away. So can you explain that differentiation on why it was still tough that first year for you, even though you had someone teaching you something? Like, what was it like? Were you not like learning his strategy per se, or was he just kind of giving you like kind of like an idea of how to think? Like, how was that process, and why do you feel like it was okay for you to go through those many losses?
Yeah, I mean, so these are complex questions. So I think some people just are kind of naturals to certain things, right? There's some people that are going to be able to pick up a golf club and right off the bat hit 150 yards, 200 yards for some reason. And then there's some people that won't even, you know, they're going to swing six inches above the ball. And so I think I'm very much a very reflective, a very slow, intentional thinker. And for the style of day trading we were doing, it was shoot from the hip, super high speed. We were the fastest humans out there. And so to connect all these variables in real time, like it was drinking from like a fire hose, right? And he was an open book with all of his strategies, but you're like, this is a guy who's the master of his craft, and like, it's almost the equivalent of like watching Tom Brady play a game and being like, oh, you know, you just got to do that. And you're like, what? I don't even know how to hold the ball. And like, for me to hold the ball, I need to like consciously be like, okay, this hand here, you know, this across the seams. And so I think it just took me so long, and my learning method was so different. And like, so I think what eventually happened, and as I like to say, is what I really specialized in is meta learning. And when I was struggling, I took the mental time out, and I took the time to figure out what's going on here. Like,
all right, so you hit on a lot of things here. So we talked about, look at our speed, right? Our speed. Let me pull up our screens here real quick, and let's do some examples and take a look. Okay, so I want to speak directly to some of our traders in our room, and there are some folks here who have that natural knack, what he just said right there, who, yes, we have people who have come in here and just crushed it on like the second week they've been here. Now, mind you, a lot of those individuals who come in and they're able to go very quickly with our system have been a lot of other places, who have been around the markets for a long time. They come in, they get our set of tools, and all of a sudden they're like, boom, this is what I've needed. This is what I've wanted. I've needed something that could do analysis on multi-time frame. We've got the high time frame. We've got the mid time frame. We've got the primary filters. And then I'm executing on 2 charts. One of them I'm taking big trades. One of them I'm taking small trades. This is all laid out. I get it. Awesome. I'm in. Let's go. You know, some people are natural with video games. Some people are not. Again, we really, you know, focus in on, you know, the keys being, you know, here's our controller over here. Whoops, I'm trying to get a zoom in right here. That, you know, right there, boom, into these buttons. I get it. I've been playing controllers for my whole life, and, you know, I just get it. I know I can pam, pam, pam. Around this little area right here, I am thumbs on, let's go. Then there are others who have never put a controller in their hand, not a video gamer, and, you know, maybe it didn't come from understanding that there are multi-time frame scenarios and trying to trade in the direction of the 2 primaries and then get a filter that matches and then execute. That's not super complex. That's the general of what we do here. But there are going to be some that are slower, some that are longer. Here is somebody who, if you have been here for a year, and I think those of you guys know who I'm talking about, if you're still here hanging out with us, that I have had people, but Vinny, I've been here a year. I should be successful. I have had a few of those, not many, but there are, and I know if you're around, he knows, or one of them I just had a conversation with recently. I'm not going to, you know, name names here, but knows, same scenario, been here a year, but there is sometimes some expectation that goes, just because you're present does not mean you're going to have success. And this is a hard lesson I've got to say to anybody here, but to some of you guys who, it's not enough to just be here. Okay, you've got to put in the work. You've got to put in the reps, and you're going to hear it not just from me. this Lance right here is going to give you a little bit more of that. And let's carry on, but just, you know, hang tight with, if you're there for a year and you're still like, what's up? You're going to hear him actually say that their plan is 2 or 3 years. Again, I do believe that we have shortcutted it mainly because of our edge. You're also going to hear him talking about that. I do think it's interesting. He had pointed in that he was making a salary of $26,000. So basically having his base covered, I think, is very healthy. I do think that that's good to not be sitting there having to be completely dependent. I think some people who quit their jobs and don't do anything, they don't work at all, they put themselves in a dangerous position because there's an additional level of pressure when there's no income coming in. So I do think that we should probably hit on that as well. That Lance, even though he was struggling through that, well, he had his bases covered. He wasn't gonna, be living on the streets. He was making $26,000, probably enough to pay for, his apartment and his food, and then he was just all in on the rest of the trading. But okay, let's let him play some more.
I've never failed at something. I'm putting all this effort in. Why isn't it translating? And I would start to do all this reading on like, how do you acquire learning or lessons or skills and everything? And that's the subject of meta learning. And so what became apparent, and a lot of this became the basis of a lot of stuff now seems.
How to learn. Okay, I think this is about to be super key. I think what he just said right there, there are some of you who know exactly what he just said right there. And I focus on how to learn. I think somebody else had said they went and, got somebody to help them in their psychology. You're really going to hear, I told you it wasn't psychology. You're going to hear it from somebody else. I know you thought it was just one of my opinions, but this is, again, top level pro kind of guy as well. And here it comes.
It's obvious that wasn't really obvious over 10 years ago.
Sure.
Just in performance sports in general. Everything like getting the reps.
Getting the reps, getting those repetitions, get in the practice, get in the market replay, carry on.
Stuff that's talked about in talent is overrated. Concepts like the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours, which is based off of paper.
Uh-oh, if I talked about that, man, he's about to hit on all of them. It feels like he came into my room. It feels like he's been with us. If he's been over here since, I've been out here teaching since 2016 publicly out here. He's about to hit all of them. Here we go.
By this guy Erickson. And I started to go into those papers and like learn about like deliberate practice, learn about
deliberate practice,
getting these reps in, and really figure out like, okay, like I'm very systematic, I'm very reflective, like what's gonna work for me? Okay, I need to study these things, I need to get reps. What is the easiest thing I can study, right? And this is the stuff I tweet about these days, like what are the easy money trades? What are the best ways?
What are the easy money trades? What do I do for you if you are struggling? First thing I do is I narrow down your scope. I help you to choose the easiest things to start picking out on, right? Carry on.
To get reps. I've done a video on like the highlight reel. So I started recording my screen, right? Mm-hmm. And not only did I record my screen, but each week I would clip it down to like, okay, each day, there's really only maybe a couple big trades each day, 0 to 2 big trades a day.
Uh-oh, did he just say record your trades? How many times do I tell you guys? Yes, record your trades, go back over them, especially if you're a struggling person. And I do think it's going to help anybody if you want to improve. But those who struggle absolutely have to. I actually make it an absolute necessity. If you are struggling, you must go back and record, because I think most of you guys, even when I go back and review your stuff, is you guys have made you've made 1 or 2 recordings here or there, and you put those out to me and I give you the direct feedback. You afterwards are going, man, oh, I totally see it now. Actually, you didn't even need it. Here's the hint. You didn't actually need me to tell you to do it. The only help that I was to you was to tell you that you needed to do it. Because if you had gone and reviewed your own, you didn't even need my review. You would have already known, because you've heard my teachings before. You know my trainings. You've listened to me long enough. And if you've gone through our training, that you already know what to do, and you will know when you did something wrong. Now, maybe some of it with the fidgeting, and some of them where mouse placement and some of the very, minutia things that I, get into you about. But if you hear me do that to a couple of traders, because it's very common, you'll hear that. So then you're going to know, you'll give your own critiques to yourself. But here it is. Here he is saying, get your highlight reels. And I was talking to you guys about how this is how football players get good too. They record the other team, they record themselves, and then they improve thinking about what they've seen in the tape. You got to play back the tape, but you can't have tape if you don't have tape. So you've got to record. It is important. Oh, Vinny, I don't know how to record. Figure it out. Okay? Just figure it out. If you don't know how to use OBS, literally download OBS. It's free. install it. It will record the whole screen, save it, clip it. If you know how to clip it, doesn't matter. Go Google it. It's one Google away. And listen, if you're a person who you're like, well, I struggle with tech stuff, Vinny, I can't do it. Listen, trading's not for you. I will just tell you, some people, trading is not for you. If you are not the kind of person who can go Google things, okay? If I have to let me Google that for you, then this is not for you. I will say that can also be the case. But if you're willing to put it in, okay, the rewards are high, as he stated at the beginning. All right, I'm droning on and on. I'll let him teach the class. Let's go.
And so I would just get the film of those couple minutes, and at the end of the week, I'd have my highlight reel. And then I'd be in on Sundays, and I'd, in high detail, write up every single play, and I would just be watching them.
Let me give a tip on how to clip your stuff up, okay? As you are going into your NinjaTrader Control Center window and you go to your trade log, all you have to do is click on the trades. It's a Sunday right now, so I don't have any trades here, but you go into the trades and look at the trade times, okay, on the list. So you'll see right here, like, okay, here's the trade, and right over here in the column, it'll have the timestamp, and you'll know. So just go to the tape at that section. You'll see, okay, it looks like it took trade 1 right there, trade 2 right there, trade 3, and you'll see the trade times. So you can fast forward in the tape to those and create what he's calling the highlight reel. I think what he's suggesting here is a great idea on doing it each day and then maybe doing a review at the end of the week. Because if you don't have time during the week, and I've never kind of thought of that, doing the finalized version at the end of the week, I think that's great. I kind of tell you to do it along the way. I like this suggestion. So I'm going to, enhance that to our own training for our members to go, hey, if you can't do it intra-week, at least do it once a week at the end of the week, get them all together, really just, prepare for the next week. I think this is a great tip right here. So awesome. I love it.
Again and again and again and again. And so now here's the thing, the same way Tom Brady watches tape, if you're spending your whole Sunday watching these plays, you just end up with this mental database. And so what would happen over time is then a play, right? Nothing's what makes trading hard is nothing's ever the same. All these variables differ. It rhymes, but it's not the same thing. And
I like that. It's never exactly the same, but it rhymes. It is close, right? And particularly with our strategies, it's less so because ours are very specific. You're going to see them over and over again. But sometimes a headshot is where the cross is, right smack dab on the dot. You got it right there, and boom, it's right there. Sometimes it's the dot right here, and the cross is right here. Boom, right? Sometimes it's cross first, and then, oh, here comes the dot right here, right? But it rhymes. Love it. Carry on.
And I'd be able to just make all these analogies and say, oh, ABC, this sell-off is just like XYZ 3 weeks ago. Or ABC is just Y, just like, DEF 8 months ago.
Yep.
And I would, in no way do I have a photographic memory. I don't even think I have an above average memory. But what would happen, and the people around me would be like, holy shit, I can't believe you remember this stuff.
Yeah.
It's not because I have good memory. It's because I was just imprinting this stuff in my brain by doing the detailed write-ups, by reviewing the videos. And so then in real time, you start to piece it all together. If you're Tom Brady and okay, this player's moving here, like the defense is kind of making these tweaks. I think they're going to blitz. You're able to read those little nuances because of all that time you've done. And in the same way, it's like, okay, wait, I recognize this play. This is how I think it's going to pan out. And you don't have 100% certainty, but you know your odds. And once I was able to replicate those easy trades, that's when things started to click.
There's so many things I want to dive into, but one of the things is I really want to know, what was Sam telling you, though, through that time? Because you talk to him, I'm assuming, every day, right?
Yep.
And so during that time, and you start to learn meta learning, 2 questions. The first one is, let's stick on the first one. Was he giving you any advice, or was he telling you anything when you were losing every day? What was he telling you through that time?
Yep. So I think he was an incredible trader, but I think teaching is a very different skill set, right?
Yes.
The best practitioners aren't necessarily the best teachers. And not that he was a bad teacher by any means, but I think people learn in different ways. And so I think for him to have this open book, ask me anything, I'm available, it was effectively just super close mentorship, right? He was, it's just the couple of us every single day. And so he found it extremely frustrating.
Oh, yeah.
Extremely frustrating. He was in no means entertained. There were some there were many miserable months. Like, we're not talking like, oh, hey, Lance, like, today you're an idiot, but it's all like, there was like months of like, you guys are like not on the track to make it, like, and like, he definitely meant well, like he cared, right? He cared, but like, I don't think he had, as many people want to have, like the tools to just be like, oh wait, like this isn't productive. What this guy needs is this. And I think that's what I've learned a lot. Not that I was some perfect trainer either later on. Like, I had to learn, like, there's this very fine line of being too emotionally invested and like too frustrated, and like you really need to just help people focus on the process and find their path of what works for them. So it was, I guess the best way is like, he cared and he did his best, but it ultimately came out as like extreme levels of frustration and, hey man, you're not going to have a job too much longer.
Yeah.
Like, it was trial by fire, and it was like, it was that wake, there was no bullshitting. It was that moment of like, hey Lance, like this, like the only reason, I mean, Trillium does a good job of giving you a long leash if you're struggling, because they know it's a long learning curve. We generally say it's a 2-year learning curve.
All right, so he said a lot in there, and his mentor basically sounds like he beat him up. All right, some of you guys, I mean, I don't yell at everybody, but some of you guys who I do think that it can be effective to, get, some people need the extra oomph. Some people need the extra emphasis to get it through to them, to cry through. Others, you could take a gentle hand. If I've been your mentor, I don't know how you assess me, whether I did a good job with you or I didn't. I've got a pretty good track record of individuals who I would say that I did an okay job, but I don't know. I'm always looking to improve as a mentor, and again, gaining things from conversations like this. But I do think he's going to come back. He's going to focus on the process. And when I go and tell you guys, I don't just keep telling you, oh, you suck, or you go, no. I literally go, I focus in on the process, right? And what are my process steps? Things I always kind of come back to is this right here, right? I'm always saying, look, practice. Can I zoom in on this? Here we go. Okay. Vinny's principles for success. What do I always focus on? I come back to this every time, big time in the practice, right? Speed. What do I tell you? Like, practice at 10x, which he's actually going to come back and tell you guys about this as well. And it doesn't have to be 10x, because like sometimes the markets are fast. You need to know how to adjust. We'll get back to that later, but this is it. Sizing appropriately in recordings and playbacks, such a huge part of this, and I love that he's hitting on this again. But here we go. Let's let him hear the rest here.
Right? And so they gave that long path. But I think the other thing that's important and really worth touching on is, like, to some degree, I wouldn't say that I was, realistically, I don't think anyone would have ever fired me, because, and this is important to everyone in every job in every stage of their life, because I was adding so much value to that group. Like, we were operating, as like, everyone's, of course, trading their own book, making their own trading decisions, but like, we still like helped each other out as a team, right? And so I was, between calling out different stocks, between calling news, between reading news articles, between doing studies to find more edge, like, I was putting in so much work and helping the group. So it's like, if my salary is 26 grand a year, it's like, on some days I'm making these guys 20 grand in a day, So it's like, why would you ever fire this set of eyes? This it's an intelligent set of eyes that knows what we're looking for and conceptually is getting this stuff. And so it was important to me. Like, I knew, like, if this guy's going to keep me around, I sure as hell better add value. And that's true for any job, right? And people don't think about that. Like, you need to add value in excess to this. And people are always like, in the trading community, how do I find a mentor? How do I find a mentor? And I've been going big on that. And it's like, guys, like, the question is, why should anyone mentor you? What are you doing for them? And they're like, oh, there's no way I can add value. Well, then guess what? That's why you don't have a mentor. And they're like, oh, but how do I add value? And I'm like, guess what? You're not putting the time in to figure that out. So what do you expect, dude? That's why you're just treading water there. And it's like, first of all, you need to find someone that's close enough in experience, just a level or two above you, so that you can offer them value, right? And then there's no just playbook for this. No one's going to give you the page, just do X, Y, and Z. You got to figure that out. And people don't want to do the hard work. People don't want to reflect and say, oh, what value can I do to help people want to invest in me? Right? And then to do it selflessly, right? So many people, they don't want to share their daily report card with other traders. They don't want to share their edge. They don't want to share their strategies. But those same people then say, why doesn't X, Y, and Z, one level above, two level above, not want to help me?
Yep.
It's like, dude, because you need to proactively give them value. And I knew that with my group, right? And even in prop trading in general, I think trading in general, because we think, oh, we're this one-man island, we're independent. People way underestimate like the power of networks, the power of giving values to other, and how it comes back to you. And that is what kept me alive, right? Like, because I really struggled close to 2 years, and really.
So there's a pause right there. So the people who keep coming to me and saying, well, Vinny, I've existed and hung out in your room for a year, but I'm not successful yet. This guy, and mind you, I'm going to keep reminding you, you're about to see all his rewards, all his trophies, whatnot. The top of the top guy struggled for 2 years. Now, I still don't think, like with our system, I don't know that it takes that long. I really don't. But I believe it may take you that long to get to the point where you come back to, and I'm just going to keep pointing this out, that you come and you put in the reps. And he ultimately will come back and say exactly this in the end. And again, some of the stuff he's talking about don't necessarily apply to us. When he's talking about doing studies and news and all that kind of whatnot, that applies to stocks when they're looking for individual plays. We've already narrowed that down for you because we're focused on futures contracts, particularly here with us. And at the same time, our system does work in stocks and Forex. So you still may need that if you are in a stocks group. And I still am looking for a stocks group leader. If you are a person who's into stocks and you would like to use AlgoBox, again, we have AlgoBox stocks. It's going to be coming separately, but I need to, train up some leaders already ahead of time and be ready to do that because it is a different area. Somebody I'm hoping already has experience with stocks and filtering, because particularly you're going to hear him talking about like finding the instruments, which are going to be in their case stocks that are in play, the ones that have the super activity, which was for us is that whole speed thing. We have a speedometer for this in futures to know, look, we don't trade when the market's not hot. Very simple. And when it is, we go. And you're going to hear that as well. So here we go. Carry on.
What was so big of a deal was that I knew, like, I mean, I was still scared, right? Like, eventually I had to interview other places just because it was like, wow, this is real. I might not make it. I'm struggling that bad. Yeah. But I also knew, like, man, like, I'm making these guys a lot of money at the same time. Not myself yet, but I'm conceptually getting this. And so.
But you know what's interesting? At this point where he was saying he was providing value, I actually don't think that what he was doing in value was not valuable to himself. He should have been doing what? I'm going to go back to this again. I know you're going to see this 100 times today. Put in the reps. He hadn't clicked on to he needed to be putting in the reps. He was still busy over there farting around with news. And y'all know my whole thing on news. Like news just gets in your way. Now in stocks, it's a little bit different because you need to find the ones in play. But they've got technical filters these days where you can see the stock that gapped up or gapped down. And you know the highest activity things. So I still don't know that you need to have the news. You don't need to have that if you're a technical trader. But I think he's talking about his experience and whatnot, providing value, but he wasn't providing value to himself. In my opinion, what I would tell you as a mentor is put in the reps. Like, look, it's Sunday right now after church, sit back down at your desk, get to work. Now, again, I do believe that Sunday is a day of rest, so maybe it's on Saturday, but on the weekends while everybody else is sleeping and snoozing and watching Netflix, you need to be in there watching your reps, watching your playback, practicing again. What day did you struggle that week? Go and practice it again. Find out, was it an easy day to have skipped because the speed wasn't there? Were there other things that could have told you? I mean, really, it's just a speed for us. If the speed is not there, audio box is not clicking, then bow out. All right, carry on.
So there was one time even when I was starting an interview, and I spoke with the number 2 guy in the group, and I told him, like, hey man, just between us, like, what do you think? Like, do you think I have a shot at this? Like, I might have to leave at some point. Like, I've got student loans. I've got, a quality of life above 26 grand, that I'd like to live one day. And he pretty much said, like, look, like, I can tell you conceptually understand this stuff. I think you really got to stick with it. Like, what you're doing for the group adds value to us. And like, if you piece it together for yourself, it's going to make sense.
Look, man, I want to ask you some questions about some of these things you have over here. So do you mind if we take a walk over there?
Let's do it.
All right, great. So
I love that what he said right there was had to piece it together for himself. And here comes the cool part. Let's go.
You mentioned something earlier too about meta learning, right?
Yep.
And when you were talking about
Meta learning, just for those who might not have missed it, because first time I watched through this, I didn't understand. Meta learning is learning how to learn. Okay, how to learn. And again, I will focus on what is it going to be? Right back to our reps, practice, speed, size, recordings, and playbacks. All right, carry on. Hear the same thing over and over again. Good. You need to repeat. Need the reps. Here we go.
Before
Reps.
though is how.
By the way, reps, if you're not from sports and stuff, that's repetitions, repetitions, repetitions. Some people are like, Vinny, I already heard that. I already heard that. Well, good. Repetition. Let's go.
They were very fast. When their style of trading was very fast, and it wasn't really
Now, very fast. Look, I will tell you, some of the most successful traders, especially today, in today's age, the edge comes out of the speed. You're going to hear that from him. Our speed, ours is also speed. At the same time, you can trade and go to different time frames. You guys know that already. And depending on what the market day brings you, you can go higher time frame, lower time frame. But again, we're really going to get the least amount of risk off of that lowest time frame. But here we go. Let's go.
meshing well with you. And then you took into meta learning to help you improve on that. Did you actually completely like learn how to trade fast then through meta learning, or did you kind of evolve what you learned into your own?
Did you see that head shake? Oh yeah. Pay attention.
Like, could you explain that? Like, how were you able to like make that transition?
Yep. So the reality is, I think some of the most edge happens on the shortest time frames, and so.
The highest edge comes in on the shortest time frames. I've told you guys that too, even while I'm showing you guys the Enigma, right? When I am showing you guys the Enigma edge on my live streams over the last month, while I've been doing this over a 40-day period for the testing that I'm doing before I go live with that, is where do I see the edge in that? It's at that smallest time frame. I am seeing the imbalances at the lowest levels. We are seeing the most getting off sides down at the lowest time frames, right? Carry on.
So just from observing, I'm like, damn, I need to get good at this. And there's no way to really prove or disprove something too well, but I like to think I was probably one of the fastest traders out there in the world. Because you would see some of these order flow inefficiencies in some of these headlines, then you can equate that with, okay, if there's some order flow inefficiency for 100,000 shares.
The order flow inefficiencies, where do those come in? Again, best places down on the lowest time frames. Carry on.
And I get 80,000 of them, right? And if you see, there's only so many of these moves each week and you're getting 60, 70% of the volume on them, then you're like, okay, there's nobody else out there doing this stuff. And we're just talking about trades that might elapse in under 2 seconds, under a second, stuff where some offer comes low, you get that guy and boom, you're able to kick it out immediately, like stuff like that. And the way.
Okay, now that's a little bit different from our style. We're still not, we're not doing it the 1-2 seconds area. However, we'll hit target 1 in seconds, right? We are at the smallest time frames on some of our trades and plays. Their style's a bit different, so take some of that into account. But he's all going to really focus in on speed and the ability for you to practice with that speed so that everything seems like it slows down. Let's go.
The way I worked on that speed was just again through so many reps, right? So I'd have my highlight.
So many what? The way that he worked on his speed was through so many reps. Go, play it again, rewind, play it again. I want to point on that for a moment here on that practice. It's not just the practice, it's the rewind. Sometimes some people are not, when they're coming and doing their playbacks, they are not rewinding. They're doing it one time and being like, okay, I got it. You need to rewind. Find that rewind button, use it. Rewind, play it again. Play that same play 3, 4, 5 times. Play it again, play it again. Don't just, okay, then go on to the next one. Play it again until you have mastered that play. It's got to be absolutely perfect so that the next one, even when it's imperfect, that you're still profitable on the trade.
Real. And
in real time.
When you're brand new, right? It's imagine seeing, if you're Tom Brady day one trying to watch that play lapse, it's holy crap, there's all these things happening. It's just overwhelming. All these.
Yes, so when you first see our system, it's overwhelming. There's all this stuff going on. There's all these things. Vinny, what am I going to do with all this? I don't understand. There's things everywhere. I don't know. Folks, this is beautiful to me. I see the matrix. We're already seeing the matrix, but in one space, in one eyeball shot, I can see everything going on in the market here. And I can make a decision like this that comes down to one deal right here. And when do I press the button? Do I press the green or the red? And when do I press it? Think about it. Do I press the green? Or do I press the red? I make that decision ahead of time. I stalk it and make that decision ahead of time. Then when I see the setup, boom, 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 we tap. Okay. Yes, it's a lot going on. Listen to this next part. What does he say?
Details go over your head, right?
Yep.
So what you do is you take that highlight reel video and you slow it down. and you watch it at, call it 0.75 speed or something, and you watch it a couple times, and you see all these little nuances, and you see, okay, this was the intraday chart, this was the daily chart, this is what the box is doing, all the little nuances, boom, that's what that turn looked like.
All right, he said, he gave specifics, but I'm just going to say high time frame, new work, because he was saying an actual day time frame scenario. High time frame, mid time frame, then boom, down in the box. Okay, and the down in the box is boom, right down there at the lowest point, closest to the tape. What is the tape? ICT. I read the tape, bro. You're not reading tape. ICT doesn't even know what tape is. That cracks me up about ICT. Guy's talking about tape when he's talking about blank candle charts. He doesn't have a time and sales window anywhere. Time and sales is tape. So it cracks me up when he's like, all right, yeah, I'll teach you how to read a tape. I'm going to be reading a tape in February, bro. Unless we see a time and sales window on your screen, which you don't even know what that is. You don't talk, bro. Shh. All right, carry on. Let's let the real mentors do the talking here. Let's go.
That's what that turn looked like, or that's what that order flow move looked like. And what you do is then you just rep this. And once you've seen it at 0.75, you go to normal speed. But guess what? The real trick is not just normal speed. It's if you can trade even faster than that, everything else. You know how when you're swinging a bat in like Little League where you have like the little donut on, the little donut weight, then you kick off the donut weight and you're like, oh my God, I'm the strongest, fastest bat speed in the world. So what that is
oh, you even used my analogy. How many times have you guys heard me use that exact same analogy? Put the donut on the bat. Yes, how do we do that? We play it at high speed. You heard it right here. If you need to rewind this section, he literally said, okay, first you need to put it real slow so you see everything going on there. Get your finger over the trigger so you can press the button in super slow-mo speed. Then he said regular speed. But then he said, but the real trick, did you notice he pipes up and he says, but the real trick is when you go even faster, right? Even faster. Now, do we have one of those for our videos? Yes, head on over here to our Algobox channel. Click right here on the little search icon right here. If you guys haven't seen this before, again, a lot of people don't know that this exists, but that little search icon will actually search an individual channel. Right here, type in 10x. 10x, we got a great video right here, the 10x rule. Vinny talking about the tips. I'll put this link in the description as well, but if I don't know if I forget later because it's Sunday, go check this one out. This is the 10x practice rule, the tip for more day trading. Watch it, see it in action, see how this applies to you with our system specifically. And I love that you're now getting to hear it from someone else. So it's not just me, this pro trader, and you're about to see all his trophies here in just a minute. This guy is one of the best. I have won 4 trading competitions. I'm not going to come out here and say I'm the best, but I have yet to see somebody come and beat me. And ICT isn't even going to get in the Robins next year. The guy's blown out his account every time he goes into the Robins. Won't do a regular competition with me. Wants to trade. I got to trade one single contract. Nobody trades a single contract. This guy's going to make fun of ICT for doing one contract as well here in just a moment. That's why I just absolutely love this interview. Carry on.
is you're watching those videos at 1.25x or 1.5x, and
this is another idea here too for people who are having, struggling with market replay because maybe your PC is not very fast. Here is the switch to that. Okay, you can record it, at least record it, and then play it back at higher speeds. Use the video editing, software to play it at high speed or low speed. If your market replay on your PC, if you got an older PC, and for whatever reason your market replay isn't working quite well, this is another good tip there that he's got here on video. He's actually just straight up talking about video because he doesn't have a platform like NinjaTrader with Algobox. Again, we really do have additional edge that these guys don't even have, which is why our learning curve is shorter. By the way, again, why Vinny says that, you could possibly, get ready to go live, and potentially if you have, if you really get this and you click into this 120 days or less, we have Edge built into our system, and he's going to talk about Edge too, about how if you don't have Edge, doesn't matter how good you are at all these other things and success and psychology and all those, it means nothing if you don't have a system with Edge. Here we go.
You're processing all these things so much faster. So then when you watch back at 1 speed, you're like, holy shit, this is so slow. This is like, it's like.
And why is it so slow? Because you've been practicing at 10x. You've been practicing with the donut on. You've been practicing at super high speed. Then all of a sudden in real time, this is how you get good in live markets because you've seen it at high speed, practicing at high speed. I love it. And he says, here it is. Y'all hear it. Now it's not just for me. Is it going to hit now that it's with 2 separate pro traders who are at the tops of their games? I hope it hits this time, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's so much more intentional. And so then when you're actually trading at obviously 1x speed, you're able to just process these things so much faster. And so these moves would happen, right? And with some of these inefficiencies, you got to be scared. Like, is there news out? Is there not news? Is this even a price I want? Is there something I should be scared of? Like, how good are these prints? How much size do I want on these prints? And so I'm sure I would definitely say I was super, super slow. But on some of this stuff, like, I was definitely one of the fastest out there. Not because that's how my brain worked. My brain's the opposite of that.
Yeah.
But you just train yourself so much.
All right. Did you hear what he said? He said he didn't get to be the best because he was born that way. He got to be the best because of his repetitions. That's literally what he just said. If you didn't catch that and what he did here, he said, no, I'm literally the opposite. If you're a person who's like, well, Vinny, I'm just slow, I can't get it. Listen, this guy is telling you the same thing. He's like, oh, I was slow at it. I wasn't good. But when he got to the point where someone, or he himself, went into the meta, he didn't say if his mentor told him to do this or not. Again, I am your mentor, and I'm actually telling you to already do this. So I feel like I might be a little bit better than his other mentor, who, yes, he may have been a great trader, but maybe wasn't a good mentor. I feel like I've already cracked that. I've been training a lot of people for a long time, and I already know this. Do the reps, do the practice, do it at high speed, and then it becomes easier. This is so key and so crucial. And a person who is, even when he says, I'm slow, he became good by putting in the reps, doing exactly what, I hate to toot my own horn here, but exactly what Vinny Emini has been telling you to do. Let's go.
And like the analogy I always give is like, imagine that first time you drove a car, right? Like 16-year-old you driving a car, like all you can focus on is like right foot gas and hope you don't hit an old lady in front of you or something, right?
Yep.
But now, you've done so many thousands of hours probably behind the wheel that you can talk on the phone, you can do whatever while eating a cheeseburger and still turn while like driving with your feet or something, right?
Oh, he just gave another one of my own analogies that I tell you guys all the time. That I say that, yes, AlgoBox looks like it's too hard to drive. There's too many things going on. I mean, there's all these things, but I'm like, what about the dashboard on your car? Your dashboard on your car, there's so many buttons. There's all the things. You got to do something with your hands and your feet, and you're looking around, looking in your rearview mirrors, looking in your side mirrors. You're doing all these things, but you don't even think about it because over time you become good at it. He's using my analogies. I love this whole interview and that you guys are getting to hear it from somebody else. This is a great one right here. Yes, it looks complicated at first, but then it becomes old hat, and it's just, oh, I got this.
Yeah. And because your brain learns.
But only if you do the practice, only if you drive around in it, only if you put in the reps, right? And he actually said 1,000 hours. Well, what did I tell you guys? It takes 1,000 hours at 10x. Then that's 10,000 hours. 10x times 1,000 hours, and 1,000 hours is just a few months. Carry on.
To process all that. And that's just like what trading is, right? You're able to get all this pattern recognition where oh man, if I'm on the highway and there's some asshole speeding up on the right side of me, this guy's probably going to overtake me, then go in front of me in the fast lane and go, right?
Yeah,
and that's pattern recognition, and stocks are no different.
Yes.
You can say, we're starting to sell off, market's really flushing out, maybe we're really going to have that panic, and when it does, what are the nuances I want to recognize when it happens? When a really good bounce happens, what are those variables? When a really bad bounce happens and we're not working, what do those variables look like? And you just watch it again and again, and you systemize and write all these things down and really process it.
So you were basically doing this every single Sunday, recording. So you record everything, and then on Sundays you watch everything.
So even better, right? Is during the week I was working a full weekday, right? So I mean, pretty much I'd get in there early.
Yep.
Not necessarily that early, but do the full trading day. And like what people don't recognize is all the improvement. The real improvement doesn't happen during the trading day, right? Like if you're a basketball player, you get a little bit better from the game, but where you really get better is doing the drills.
Doing the drills. Write it down. Write it down. Do that three-word little phrase right there. Doing the drills is where you get good. Let's go.
Shooting your free throws, all the practices you do, watching the tape of the game, that's where you really, really make the improvement, right?
Yep.
And same with the trading, like during.
Yeah, you guys who say, well, I've been here for a long time, and I've been in the room every day, and I've been trading every single day. Yeah, Vinny, I don't have time to do market replay after hours because I'm busy doing X, Y, and Z. I don't have time to do that you're not improving while you're in the game. You're only putting pressure on yourself. You're just constantly feeling the pressure, but you're not getting any better. So you can't improve your confidence and your ability because you are doing it under the pressure of live market conditions. You got it? You heard it from somebody else now, not just me. Let's go.
During the day, you're kind of just executing. Where the real learning comes from is all after hours for me, right?
Yep.
So I do my detailed trade write-ups. I would do all my Evernotes. I would do all my reading about the news stories. I would do...
Okay, some of that you don't have to do. That's a benefit of our system. Our system is going to shortcut a lot of that for you, but as far as like notes and things of that sort, I don't necessarily know that you need to do any of that. All of that is kind of done in the pre-work where we've taught you, we've trained you and everything. It is really more about watching and learning and executing, making notes on your executions. Not even, I don't necessarily think that it's helpful to write things, but screenshotting is important. Video is important. So I'll disagree with him slightly here on that, but maybe more so in stocks when they're talking about news events and such like that, individual things that have to do with an instrument that's impacted by an individual item, different than what we're doing here where we are trading baskets, right? What's a basket? An index fund, multiples, right? Now, different if you're trading the crude oil or gold, those are individual items that might also apply to that. But again, less important with our system because it's very, very mechanical and order flow analysis.
Creating these highlight reels. Then especially on Sunday, I would do a full review of the week.
But yes, taking the time to create those highlight reels, again, I would rather you spend all the time like learning how to use your video editor. I mean, there's a skill right there to learn to use that video editor where you can clip videos quickly. Just do that a bunch of times. Yes, it's going to be slow the first time. Folks, I am not good with video editing. I am not good with it at all. All I do is I come out here and I live stream on OBS. I press the button and we go. My video editors who we have now, they know, like Vinny can't do any of that. I don't spend my time learning how to do that, but I at least have to be able to clip up my clips, and you need to be good at that. So spend the time. The first maybe 10 times, it may be slow, but guess what? That 11th time, you'll be able to do it fast. Get to the 11th time. How about that? Write that down. Get to the 11th try, please. For me, go out there. Those of you guys who keep struggling, you come over here and you're doing private messages with me all the time. I want to get on a call all the time. Again, I take those with you. I have the conversations with you, but I ultimately cannot press the button for you. I always tell you that. And I need you to do those reps, get good at it so that you can do it quickly, so that it won't be something that you won't do. Because a lot of times when something is too difficult to do or feels like it's a waste of time and you feel like you're not doing very good at something, you won't do it. So get good at it so that you will do it. I implore you for yourself. I want you to succeed. So please do it.
Every single Sunday. But during the week, I was still working till 7, 8 p.m., right? And
Yeah.
I'd hit the gym, I'd eat dinner, but I was getting all my hours in.
And it's crazy. Like we're standing here, and you have all of these, just Trader of the Year, great year 2021.
Look at that.
You have this 2019. Congratulations on a great year from Trillium. All these awards, man.
Yeah, they go back a lot of years.
It's insane. So it's amazing that you have all these, but people will see this, people will hear this, and I want you to just share just like what helped you get here. Like, because I know you talked about off camera a little bit about like failure and how important that is for you to talk about. So can you hit on that a little bit?
Yeah. And I mean, I think the question's always like, should you be emotional as a trader? And people think, oh, the best traders have no emotions. And I'm not. I think there's a lot of generalities you can make that just aren't necessarily true, because I've known traders that are very even-keeled, and my trainer, who was great, was the opposite of even-keeled.
I love this. I do not believe in the whole notion of being emotionless and whatnot. Listen to what he said. I'm going to let him carry in on here, but I'm just going to say I 100% agree with him. These notions that people keep talking about on Twitter about being in control of your emotions and being stable and acting like a robot are false, in my opinion. No, it is absolutely 100% false. You can use your emotions to actually help you and drive you to succeed, and you really should, in my opinion. You're not a robot. You're never going to be one. Listen to what he has to say right here.
And I think as the world advances on just skill kind of progression and stuff like that, my current beliefs for now are like, you want to fully believe in the process and trust in that rather than focus on the outcome.
The process. Focus on the process. What is our process? I'm going to flip it over again. Practice, speed, size, recordings, playbacks, carry on. It's focus on that process. The process will carry you through.
But at the same time, emotions can be used maladaptively or adaptively. So here's the thing, right?
Okay.
Is if I'm negative on the day, say I lose $500, and I'm pissed off, I'm furious, I'm slamming my desk. I say, F this, like trading sucks, I hate all this, I suck, you suck, everyone sucks, the whole world sucks, I'm gonna go drink at the bar.
Yeah.
That is a maladaptive emotional reaction, right?
Yes,
but you
agreed.
can also have an adaptive emotional reaction. So what if I say, like, damn it, like, I suck, I at least suck right now because I lost money, I didn't do the right things, I didn't make the right decisions, I want to be better. I am angry, I am pissed off, I am hungry for better. I am not okay. I am not okay with failure. I am not okay not being my best trader. I am not okay with any of this. Nothing makes me more driven and more hungry to succeed than feeling these emotions. As a result of that, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to review and I'm going to find new solutions and new ways so that I never make this mistake ever again. That is an adaptive emotion, right? You're using a negative emotion to fuel positive change. And I think that's where these generalities get it all wrong. Like, it's totally fine to have those emotions. And so when I was struggling, I think what really separates.
Now that's at the end of a day. I actually think intraday, even trade by trade, I'm going, oh, that one hurt. Oh, that makes me mad. I'm getting the next one. Okay. Like that. Not revenge on that last trade. Look, that's what's beautiful about our system, because there's going to be another system right around the corner. If you've got our four instruments times 5 charts, you are going to have 20 charts sitting there in front of you. You're going to have those opportunities. You've got 4 instruments to be able to yield you opportunity over a single hour. You're going to try to get in those 5 or 6 trades and you're done, right? And then come back and have the after effect. His is a little bit different because of the way and their style, but I want to adapt it with our style. Is intra-trade. It's okay to get excited about that last trade and drive it farther, or oof, that one just got you. Oof, oh, okay, it's okay. I got the next one. Okay, that's okay. And it's okay to be that way, not like, oh, I'm just going to be emotionless and continue to drive on. It's not going to work because you're going to need some of that fire it helps you to click. It's your clicking finger. Your clicking finger. Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. You're going to go faster because you've got that emotion, in my opinion. Carry on.
Separated me from most people is I would emotionally feel that pain of failure so strongly. Like, the thought of me going out and grabbing dinner with a friend on a bad day, like, I just can't even grasp that. All I would be able to think about is I never want to feel this way again. Those emotions were so powerful. Like, I don't want to see that guy do better than me. I don't want to see that guy do better than me. I don't want to see anybody doing better than me. I never, ever, ever want to feel what it's like to fail. And I would do that just to drive me. When it's cold out or dark out or shitty out, like, what gets you to go in on a Sunday morning? What gets you to stay late? What gets you to hit the gym? And you need those intrinsic kind of motivational factors. You need those emotions to say, I'm hungry for this and I'm willing to pay this price. You know, and it's easy to say, but hard to actually do that consistently over time.
Do you feel like, because I know you help a lot of traders and a lot of professional traders on a regular basis, do you feel like, touching on the same fact that you said there's a lot of generalities that are maybe not really true, is there some other things that people say that really are hurting traders in the masses, like they hear all the time? You know what I'm saying?
Man.
Like common sayings, like, I don't know. Like,
there's so many common sayings out there that people won't just objectively assess for being true or not. And there's some that are true, and there's some that are just dead wrong, and people refuse to just take. And here's the thing, if you can't be bothered to objectively like analyze these things for the kernel of truth, like there will be people that's like the common saying, you can never go broke taking a profit.
Yes.
Well, guess what? Here's the thing, is if you take your profit every time you're 10 cents in the money, but every time you're wrong, you lose $1.50, and you're wrong, say you're right 4 out of 5 times, but if you're only making those 10 cents and if you're ringing the register and not letting that trade work, guess what? You can go broke taking the profit because it's not going to work every time, right? And like, if you're cutting off your expected value, imagine, and I love the poker analogies, imagine getting aces and every single time you bet some amount just to get the blinds, right? You scare off every single person every time you have aces. And you're like, can't ever go broke, can't ever lose, maximizing that hand. It's like, dude, you just got the bare minimum on the best hand. You didn't juice that at all, right? And so if something really...
This hits on the point of these people who think you can trade one contract trading, like ICT. ICT can't trade. He's like, oh, I'm going to trade one contract because he doesn't know. He would be the worst poker player in the world. And it's not just about poker. I know you're going to be like, oh, that's gambling. No, there is a skill set in the game. You need to know when to go big, and you've got to be able to have size. You've got to adapt your sizes. Again, I will come back to my principles. Again, sizing is important if you want to be a professional trader. Again, ICT students are never professional traders, so I don't find it surprising at all that ICT's like, I'm just going to trade one single contract, and I'm going to go to the Robbins, and because that's a real contest. No, it's not. The Robbins contest is garbage, and he knows it. Well, I don't even know if he does know. I think he's starting to believe his own bullshit at this point, but you've got to be able to size appropriately. And a professional trader like this guy right here also agrees with me. You've got to be able to trade some size. You got to know, like if you got aces high and aces high, and it's not necessarily, having two aces isn't exactly the greatest hand ever, but it's a good start. And you should work the table to see how much you can get out of that play. And if you don't do that, listen, you want to be a poor trader? I guess you can, but if you're going to do that, dude, go make me a sandwich. Go work at Subway, bro. Make me a footlong, all right? Let's go.
Really good happens, and you're always just got to take some off. Where like people have the thing there, it's like, oh, I love to get the free trade or whatever, where it's like, okay, my risk was $5,000. Once I'm 5K in the money, I'll take it off. But it's like, if you're taking off when there's still massive positive expected value, that is a fundamentally just incorrect move, right?
Yep.
And like, look, that doesn't mean people can't succeed doing that. People will always kind of like chirp on Twitter and be like, oh, but so-and-so does it this way.
Yeah, sure. There's levels of success. But when you're trying to see who's the better trader, like what's the whole point of having a trading competition, which ICT refused to get into a real trading competition with me. He wants to play this Robbins BS that hinders you. It's like playing with a handicap. Oh, it's playing with a handicap. That means you're professional. No, it doesn't. That's not a measure of how good somebody's strategies are or the way that they trade is. Because it's like, oh, Vinny, you can't trade with 5 contracts. Wow, dude, you're a piece of garbage, bro. Yes, I'm talking to you, ICT. You are completely a menace to society and this whole trading industry. And please stop sending your violent little minions to come and call me in the middle of the night and stuff. Please, appreciate that. Anyhow, you want to hear it from real traders, real people. You want to come here. If you want to go fart around with ICT and waste your time, yeah, there's plenty of that over there. All right, carry on.
This way. And like, look, there's many ways to skin a cat, but there's still the objective mathematical truth.
Yes.
And if you're selling
objective
where there's
mathematical
massive
truth.
positive expected value because you want to cover your risk, well, I mean, that's one way to do it. You're not going to lose as much. You're going to get a free roll on the rest, but you're also cutting off so much of your winners, and you're not going to be maximizing your P&L.
You're not going to be the big player. You're not going to be the big player. That's for sure. You're going to be still making me a sandwich at Subway, just like ICT and his. Well, I'm going to leave the rest of that. I'm going to try not to talk about ICT for the rest of this video here. All right, carry on.
And I think so many people make those logical fallacies. And what I did really good about is like figuring out what's the kernel of truth in this. Like, is it true that I should be taking off and covering my risk, or is that actually going to, like, what if I take off at 30 cents when I'm about to make $3? If you do that every time, you're ruining yourself.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, 100%.
And like, you're lowering your variance. You're going to have less negative trades.
Right.
But
Yeah, that's only one statistic. That's only one single stat, and people focus on that way too much. It's the win rate. The win rate is not everything. You've got to combine the win rate plus the profit factor.
your P&L is going to be a fraction of what it should be, and people don't test these things.
Yep.
So like speaking of that, because the whole idea of like they don't want to have losses, right? So do you feel like I don't know how to word this, so help me out here. Maybe you'll be able to pick it up, but like I talk to so many traders, right? And I'm working on it every single day. I want to get to where you guys are at one day, right?
Yep.
But what I've started to notice, like everyone trades different. Like you mentioned it, Jack Schwager's books, it all mentions that. Everyone knows that. Would you say like the fundamental like denominating like fact that you need, and if you can elaborate, if you do believe this, is like, and if you don't, I'd love to hear your thoughts, is like risk management. And like every trader trades differently per se, but like how they view risk and how they manage it is probably what makes them consistent. Would that be more factual than actual setups itself? You know what I'm saying? Like risk management is probably more important than the setup.
No, but this is very common thought process. He's about to get wrecked on this, and I love it.
Bella and I talk about this all the time,
Okay,
right?
cool.
And this is because people overemphasize, more than risk management, people overemphasize psychology.
Yeah.
And not that psychology isn't important.
Just pause for those who, I mean, I've had literally some people who are not successful come and argue with me that psychology is still more important. Oh, I hired a psychologist to do this and that and that. I'm like, bro, you're wasting your fucking time and your money, because whatever that person told you didn't do jack shit for you. You're about to hear it from somebody else, not just me. And I completely agree. Let's go.
But ultimately, there's the most important thing to even get anywhere. You need a system with edge, right? You can have
Pause. More important than anything. Anything. You need a system with edge. Full stop. Carry on. None of that psychological BS. None of that, oh, your risk management is everything BS. You must start with a system that has edge. I could talk about some, you know which one I'm about to say, but I'm not, because I already said I'm not going to say it. But not systems like that. You know the ones that have 90% of their traders lose 90% of their money in 90 days or less. Yeah, you know the ones.
I have the best risk management in the world, right? So maybe my risk management is I always take off at the right stop, right? I never lose more than I'm supposed to. I always follow my limits. If you have good risk management, but you're playing a system with negative expected value, bro, you have a 0% chance of winning in the long run. Literally zero. Like, again, people will disagree, but it's an objective mathematical fact. If you're
Objective mathematical fact. You can have your opinion, and you are entitled to your wrong opinion, but it will still not be objectively true. Carry on.
You're playing a negative expected value system. Like, think about it. I can tell you I'm going to go to Vegas. When we're in Vegas, I can tell you I've got this little blackjack system. So obviously, I've got negative EV in Vegas, but I can tell you I'm never going to lose more than $500 a day. I can tell you on the big trades I'm going to bet 200 and this and that, and I can have this perfect system for risk management.
Yep.
I can follow it to a T. But if I'm playing blackjack in Vegas, it doesn't matter. I'm going to lose money in the long run, right? So I would disagree with that. That's not to say it isn't important, right?
Okay, gotcha.
But ultimately, what so many traders say as poor risk management or poor discipline or poor willpower or poor overtrading, ultimately, you just don't have edge.
Yes.
And so many people, you need a system with edge, right?
Yep.
And you can, so here's the real test. Can you have a system with edge, but poor risk management and still succeed? Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, like in some worlds.
And even with what we've said here with our system, I tell you, what is it? You do not have to be perfect to be profitable with our system. That's great. I love what this guy's saying. Preach it, brother.
You might blow up, absolutely. But there's some people that are at least going to do well, and at least over like a decent time frame, right?
Yes.
And like, yeah, maybe you have an outsized loss, but if you have enormous edge, so now think about this, right? Let's say I have a 99% chance of winning, and when I win, I'm gonna make 100x what I lose. Incredible, insane edge. People would take that bet all day. I can have shitty risk management, and let's say I say I'm never gonna bet more than 500. If I bet 5,000, 2,000, 10,000, I can do that and still probably never blow up within reason, because I have so much edge, right?
100%.
And so even with my trainer, he didn't have the best risk management, but he still was phenomenally successful. And for most of my career, I didn't have the best risk management either. And I was still putting in top 10 finishes, even with poor risk management, because my system had so much edge.
Because the system had so much edge that you can still kind of suck at it, not be absolutely perfect at it, not get the perfect exact number of contracts, not get the exact size, not get the exact whatever, fill in the blank. Oh, didn't hold that out a little bit longer. Didn't get that one runner. Doesn't matter. What do we live on? T1, T2. What is our system? What is the edge in our system? T1, T2, right? And particularly T1, if it's going against, if it's going with the trend, then we're 2, right? Very simple, straightforward. That's what the power of our edge is. And in trading trading our 5 trades plus 1, if we have a bonus on that single day in an hour, maintaining that edge throughout the entire process and system is the edge. You simply need to go out there and practice it, get in the reps. Here it is again. I'm going to keep coming back to it. Practice, speed, size, recordings, and playbacks. Let's go.
But it can't work the opposite way, right? And
Yeah.
so people way underestimate, do you actually have a system that works? If not, forget psychology. Stop reading psychology training books.
Stop
all
reading
this crap.
psychology
you
books.
need to find a system with edge or everything else is useless. You
Yep.
will not have a single chance.
Yep.
And that's not true for any other thing, right?
Yeah, I love that you said that. And if you don't mind, I'd love to see, where you work at every day. You mind if we go
Sure,
over
let's
there?
do it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I really wanted to see your setup over here because you hear all these traders, especially on social media. I mean, how social media is. Like you'll hear social traders saying like, "Show me your show me your desk, your setup." Like, do you feel like it's super important? And I know this is kind of general, but like that traders have multiple monitors, that like they need all this, or can the trader have some success with just one monitor?
Yeah, I mean, I think going crazy with the monitors and the screen layout and everything, that's something that probably a lot of traders can just use as like, oh, I'm doing all this work that I think is super productive, when in reality, it's not the most effective thing you can do.
Yep.
Like, there's the number of traders with 6 screens and 0 edge is probably, way, way, way higher than the number of traders with 1 monitor and a lot of edge. And like, yeah, you do reasonably need room for your charts and everything else, but like,
Yeah, and I've said that too. That's why I was told people like, the minimum layout setup that I would suggest, you need that one big 4K in the center so you can fit your 20 charts. You need size for the charts, or space for the charts, and you need some space for the discords because we've got our news, MacV Ultimate, and the chat in the room. Those 3, so really needs 2. That's it. Now, a third, I still suggest having a third, so you've got a little bit of extra. And sometimes, let's say you want to expand out a chart for whatever reason. You want to expand it out on a screen. There's lots of reasons to have that extra screen real estate. So I'd think that the 3 screen setup is ideal. I see he's got a 3 screen setup right here. I think that's awesome. Mind you, in today's age, we are in the days of 4K, and 4K is 4 times the normal 1080p. So there we go. Carry on.
the monitor and screen layout,
Yeah.
way less. In the ranking of things, it's down by ground level.
Would you say as a beginner, like, would you mostly just focus on, like, I don't know, when you first started or when you're helping new traders coming up in the prop firms, because I know you help all different levels.
Yep.
Like, let's say more intermediate or amateur level. Is it more important for them maybe, before we wrap this up, to maybe focus on like just one ticker and just focus in on that and just trade that, and instead of trying to focus on like 3, 4, 5 tickers? Like, what would your advice be around that?
So I think there's pure day one where it's like, okay, I don't know what a bid or ask is, where it's like, okay, like, yeah, just type up whatever stock you even know, Apple or something, and sure, we can look at that. But I think as quickly as possible, you want people to start gravitating to in-play stocks. Because the reality is, if there's a universe of 5,000 stocks,
Yes.
I mean, there's probably even more, but 99.9% of tickers are probably noise on any given day, right? Like if I were to type up Sirius or something, let's face it, Sirius probably isn't doing bullshit today, right?
Yeah.
And if you focus or fall in love with a certain ticker that's just not in play, you're just fooling yourself by randomness, right? Mm-hmm. And so when I work with some of these new traders, a lot of them will say, oh, this is the concept, and they just, let me type up as many tickers that I can just kind of like squint and piece this to. When in reality, you need to just go to the tickers that are in play, because that's where the edge is, and that's where the real patterns, the real volume, the real emotions are.
Okay, so for us, what is in play? How do we define in play, since we're not talking about stocks? Again, so we've got multiple instruments that we play, but there is a massive key right here in our speedometer. Let's zoom into this section over here on the right. So this is our key to knowing when things are in play. If the market does not, I'm not going to do a whole lesson here on the speedometer, but how do we know when it's in play? Literally, we don't want to play in the noise, right? The noise. Now, the noise, not when AudioBox. Okay, if AudioBox is pushing noise, okay, we want to play. If AudioBox is kicking, we hear that order flow coming in, we've got the big money on the tape, then we want to be in play, which is what he's saying. Get to the ones that are in play. How do we determine that here? We've got some really cool tools to that, to know that the order flow is on the tape, that we know that the algorithms are hitting the markets. We've got it. Speedometer plus AudioBox. That is the key to our success inside of our edge, to know when to play. That is one of the biggest keys, because otherwise you will also lose money, and he's about to hit in on that point, but wanted to show that in relation to ours, because those of you guys who are kind of wondering, well, how does that apply here? It is stocks versus over with ours. Though we have our 4 or 5 instruments, that we're always looking at. We want to make sure we're playing them when they are in play, and that simply comes from the speed.
And if you take the absolute best traders, and if you give them crappy tickers, they're never ever going to make a dime. It doesn't.
Yes. Again, you hand me, take a trade right now, Vinny. What's on the Nasdaq? Well, the Nasdaq's not in play right now. There's nothing on the Nasdaq. But I thought, man, Nasdaq was your favorite play. Well, it is, but right now there's nothing. There's no speed on it. There's no edge. There's nothing there to play right now. See? So same thing. He said, literally, if they're dead, they're dead. You're just playing in the noise. You're not gonna, no edge there, no play.
Doesn't matter how good you are.
Doesn't matter how good you are. If you're playing when there's nothing there. If you're like, well, Vinny, it was a headshot. Doesn't matter. Listen, I'm gonna repeat that again. But Vinny, there was a double cross. Doesn't matter. But it was a double cross completely out there in the open, and it doesn't matter. The market wasn't in play. Was there any noise on the tape? Was there any speed coming in? Was the speed good? No? Leave it alone, okay? Easy time to filter. And guess what? You get paid to sit on your hands because you didn't cost you that $300 on that play because you didn't drop that play. You didn't lose on that play. So you just made another $300. As Benjamin Franklin said, a penny saved is a penny earned. So $300 saved is $300 earned. Let's go.
If you don't let me choose my tickers, I will lose not every day, but I would lose half of days. More than half.
Okay, same thing. Sometimes we would lose too. We would win too. Okay, he's saying, he is preaching to the choir here, brother. And I'm glad you guys are getting to hear it from another mouth. That if you are going to come and trade, our greatest system ever, you can sit here and trade all of the executions. You're sitting there like, well, I traded only headshots. I always wait until they're exactly what they are. But if you're trading when they are not hot, he said, look, at least 50% of the time you're losing and you're just basically, throwing money away on that. And I completely agree.
Half of days. I'd lose 55% of the time.
So ticker selection is super important.
It's everything. And so even once you know.
Speed is everything. So repeating this whole thing, I really want to drive that home. Just don't play when it's not in play. Carry on.
This is a bid. This is an ask. This is like the level 2 book. Once you know those basics, you really want to start directing towards people like, why is this in
our case, when you already know, when you know what the headshot is, you know what the two-finger salute is, you know what the double dot is, you know what the DCDM is, you know what our strategies are, you know what the J-hook is, okay? You know those. Once you know that, you got the knowledge. The wisdom is now play them when those markets are hot.
In play, why is this moving? Maybe it's got earnings, maybe it's got fresh news, maybe it's panicking or got an interesting chart pattern. Anything doing abnormal volume, abnormal price action, that's where you got to be.
Abnormal price action, speed, could be during earnings season. We know that we can make I've said that it's possible to make the most money ever in the 3 weeks during earnings season. 3 weeks times 4 times per year, because they happen every quarter. That's 12 weeks in a year. You can make the majority all right there. Also contract rollover for us in the Emini space or micros, when you've got contract rollover, the volume must increase, the speed must increase during those times, and during those windows you will catch those opportunities because the algorithmic activity has to kick in, and that's what that's our edge, right?
Because otherwise you're just reading tea leaves and you're going to trick yourself. Literally, the Nassim Taleb, fooled by randomness, you're going to be studying, like if they've done studies where you can flip a coin, right? And even though it's 50-50, you might get a lot of heads, you might get a lot of tails. And like people think, oh, look, people, like our brain is trained to fool ourselves into seeing patterns. And you'll say like, oh, look at this uptrend, like, wow, we're so streaky. Then it's like, no, it's just normal distribution of
I can't help but notice that I just noticed he's got he's got this over his screen. Look at mine right up here. They I don't know. They just we're on the same page, man. We're on the same page.
Data. And you really got to start figuring out like, okay, this is the broken slot machine. This is doing something abnormal from the market.
Abnormal speed, abnormal volume, abnormal movement. Let's go.
And abnormal from randomness. This I need to at least study to find a chance.
Man, dude, like I absolutely love this, and I appreciate it so much, Lance. And I know people are going to ask questions. They're going to be like, Alex, you need to ask this. Why don't you ask this? So if they have questions for you, they want to find out more about you, can you tell them where they can find you?
Yep. So really all my content is based on my Twitter feed of the One Lance B. And then I do probably each month I release videos through the SMB.
The One Lance B, and he is part of SMB. And yeah, man, shout outs to these guys. Alex for doing the interview. Again, I don't take any credit for any of this interview portions or whatnot, and all credit due to them over there. And just appreciate the opportunity to have listened in on this and a little reaction video here. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. Man, I would play this one back, and anytime you start to struggle, play this video back. I really think you're going to get something from it. If you guys have any questions about any of this, maybe something that didn't get hit, but man, this guy's hitting all of my analogies, all the things that I've said before. The baseball bat, remember that. Remember the baseball bat with the donut on top. Remember the 10x speed stuff. If you have questions around finding stuff on our channel, come over here and type in those. We've got, we've got trainings on practice, how to practice. Just type them in, search for them on our charts here. And of course, the driving your car analogy, I think that's another good one that, yes, it may seem like there's a lot going on if you're new with our system and you see everybody having success, early, or you think it's early. Listen, you will know this will become a car. It will be, eventually, it'll just be a steering wheel, okay, and some pedals, right? And some stuff around the dashboard where you can play the radio and everything else. We have a radio too. Turn on the music. I told you guys that. But eventually this will just become a car that you are driving. You'll learn how to read it. You'll learn how to see it. You'll understand. It's the rear view window. It's the side mirrors. It's, understanding what traffic's going to come. It's anticipating the guy speeding up next to you. You're going to start doing that, feeling that, anticipating it, but only if you put in those reps. Have a good one.